All right. So there's talk right now that the EU is set to possibly approve the Microsoft Activision deal. Now, at first, when this merger was announced, I was on board. I was like, yep, Microsoft probably needs to go ahead and acquire Activision because I think this is probably going to be something that works for, its library of games and all of the above. But it appears to me that having seen some more data as to how much money Microsoft is making with Game Pass, my position on that is actually shifting. And it's shifting towards I would not mind if they don't acquire Activision Blizzard. Now, if you're an Xbox fan, I don't know where you stand on this. If you're a PlayStation fan, I don't know where you stand on this. I'm on a PC platform, but I'm looking at this from a perspective of what we have and what the future might hold in regard to, say, Xbox games and all of the above. Because according to what we've seen just lately, Xbox's Game Pass is actually very, very sustainable, in my opinion. I made a video yesterday. I cited an article where, according to Brazil's administrative economic, I think it's one of their ministries, some of the data that they actually gleaned from there showed that in 2021, Xbox pretty much had racked in about $2.9 billion, and this was just for the console Xbox Game Pass platform. The PC platform was not even in this particular mix of numbers. And so if at any rate that PC is even stretching close to that number, Game Pass might be close to $4 billion in regard to how much money it was able to bring in, say, maybe 2021. And by now, even in 2022, with Game Pass actually being much more profitable or much more popular, that number might be pushing even the high $4 billion. With $4 billion and exactly the same number of games at any given time, with Microsoft being able to negotiate these numbers to suit their their portfolio or to suit their profitability, this makes me feel like they may never focus on big games anymore, because why would they have to? I know that I've actually said this in other videos that, yeah, they seem like right now on their agenda is to still continue to participate in making these games because they already have some of them in development. They have these titles lined up. You have Hellblade, you have Indiana Jones, Starfield, you have Avowed. We've even seen some trailers on these games. We know the studios that are developing them. We even also know about Elder Scrolls and even possibly other projects that are coming, like the Forza 5 game that's going to be coming very soon, or Forza something. I don't know if it's Forza 5. I think that's the one that came out last time. I don't play Forza, but forgive me. Now, seeing that these games are in development, probably in the next 5 to 6 years, I think we're probably going to see these games, or at least know more about the development of the ones further down the road. But by this point, if Game Pass is growing at this rate, who's to say that, Microsoft is going to want to continue to even make any of these games as much as they do? They may just opt for making, say, one game every 2 years, or, publishing one game every 3 years. This way they continue to grow and expand Game Pass, because it's going to pretty much annihilate a lot of what Sony's profitability looks like when it comes from the exclusives compared to Game Pass. I've seen a lot of people say that Game Pass numbers don't add up. I'll link the article for you so that you'll see that Microsoft is spending basically a fraction on developers and spending a fraction on its community, bringing in a lot of indie devs that are able to make a whole bunch of games for what I think is very little to Microsoft compared to what, Game Pass subscription, revenue is. That, to me, the model is just a blow out of the water. I mean, Sony has been so fixated on selling consoles that they failed to see this possibility, or they didn't necessarily think that this avenue was going to be anything worthwhile. But man, I can tell you that the numbers are starting to add up, and it doesn't seem likely that Microsoft is going to back down. In fact, if you add the Activision library to the Game Pass system, what might eventually end up happening is that number is accelerated in terms of the subscribers. Right now, the report is that Game Pass has about 25 million subscribers. With that Activision library being added, I foresee that number going up, especially when you think about the PC subscribers who were already probably not, already in the ecosystem for Game Pass, who look and say, well, I play, the Diablo games, I play Call of Duty, I play maybe some of the other games that Activision does publish. I mean, why not just get a Game Pass subscription for now so that I can even check and see if I want to spend $90 every year for a Call of Duty game? And they may just go ahead and approach it from that way. That is a huge acceleration in terms of profitability. This is not even talking about the people on Xbox who may even make up their minds and say, hey, why don't I go ahead and get the Game Pass subscription anyways. And by the way, I'm not talking about new Xbox owners. I'm not talking about people who may go ahead and buy an Xbox console so they can have that Game Pass in their side pocket in case a nice game comes out, so that they can just use their Game Pass subscription to play it. So this is why I'm coming to this conclusion, because to me, it seems like everyone has been focused and fixated on the wrong thing. And this is why sometimes when I chat with gamers, I usually try to let gamers understand that, hey, you have to look at business from the business perspective in order to get a very good idea as to what it is that you may think you want, or what it is that you may, think is happening, but what is truly happening. A lot of the news outlets here, they are talking from the perspective of the consumer that is not wanting to inform themselves about this stuff. So they end up misleading a lot of people, because a lot of it is based on emotionalism, because gamers usually like throwing out words like, passion and, all these different things that in the world of making money and business, their compatibility is limited. I mean, many of you have heard that when it comes to things about passion and when it comes to things about actually being able to be successful in a career, it's hard to intersect both of them because there's a financial need in terms of when you go get a job. So this is why many people will tell young people, don't follow your passion, pretty much do what you need to be able to, this is kind of a thing that, you hear in many places. And if your passion happens to just meet you in the middle of the road, then you're one of the lucky ones, because a lot of people work in places that they don't want to work in, or like game developers. They may find themselves where they're applying for jobs and they end up on a project that they did not want to work on. I mean, if you get what I mean. I can tell you for sure that many game developers are just happy to get a job to put, food on their table. But at the end of the day, they were assigned to making Redfall. I'm sure many of them deep down inside probably did not want to make that game, but that's what put food on the table. So the whole passion conversation and, your earnings and stuff is also very relevant. So looking at it this way, I mean, at the end of the day, what it will probably still do, even though I say I don't want it, at the end of the day, it brings, the whole competition aspect into light, which is Sony right now is not giving the best value proposition to its gamers. Now, the gamers, in my opinion, they see it as Sony is giving us games, so that is what we determine as value. So yeah, you could actually measure and weigh the value as to what it is you like and what it is that you want. But then when you start to compare the numbers, the dollar value, then you start to see that Sony is lacking behind, because all their exclusives don't necessarily come out as fast enough. They simply cannot come out fast enough. No one is saying they have to come out fast enough. I'm just saying that they just can't, because these games take multiple years to make, including their sequels. Aloy is going to get another game. It's a proof of concept, launching a new IP that had been in development for a very long time in Guerrilla. It paid off. I mean, yes, Rome was not built in a day, so we're probably going to be getting the next Horizon game, because Horizon Forbidden West has basically proven to Sony that they can sell about 32 plus million copies of, units in terms of the total franchise, which is pretty good. It's freaking amazing that over years, the finances eventually catch up to say, yes, this character is basically going to be the new, in quote, Lara Croft, in a sense, because there is a fan base surrounding her. But before you can actually prove that fan base over the course of the years, Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass and even the proposition of participating in challenging your games is now somewhere where it's going to be really, really hard, for Sony to keep this business model sustainable as their only means of continuing to, make money and all of the above. So Sony is going to have to pivot. They'll be fine for them, short term, but they're going to have to pivot as well in order for them to be able to get things going. And this is why I've said, at the end of the day, it will be interesting to see Activision on its own little, corner, and Microsoft actually still be invested in making their games as heavy as possible, even though Game Pass is profitable, and then eventually meet up and match up with the competition. Because for gamers, the saying or the, perception that Microsoft has no games, because it is a perception, they're making all these games I listed at the beginning of the video, is a problem. But for Microsoft, it's not. You know what I mean? Like, from a financial perspective, Game Pass is already profitable, so why should they be thinking that some games that's in development that's not gonna make Sony users pivot away from their platform? Why should they think that that's gonna be the magic pill? So these are some of my thoughts on this issue, and these are some of my thoughts on this matter. I recommend that you actually check out the links to see where I'm getting my numbers from. I know people usually would say things like that and say Game Pass is not profitable. I recommend that you do the research, look at what it costs to acquire games on the platform compared to the multiple billions of dollars, and every new subscriber is pretty much free profit at some point in the number. Yes, Game Pass has about 100 games at any given time. If each game, on average, according to a report, is costing them about $800,000, basically $100 million on average, because some games will cost less, some games will cost as much as $5 million, like in the case of Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy, you realize that, at some point, the profitability is just much more insane than you would even think. Perhaps I should do a video looking at the math even more, and then we can go from there. But thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys' time and audience, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.